The top business stories live from the Sky Newsroom. The embattled water regulator Ofwat is set to be abolished as ministers look to create a new watchdog. The government plans to slash energy prices for businesses and claims the UK's most energy-intensive firms will save millions of pounds a year. Plus, a new report looks at how women's sport can grow its sponsorship and funding. We'll speak to the authors. A very good afternoon. This is Business Live. With me today, Sam Washington. The water regulator for England and Wales will be abolished under recommendations from a government commission review that's due for publication on Monday. Government ministers will announce a consultation into creating a new regulator, which is likely to conclude with the abolition of Ofwat. Our business correspondent, Paul Kelso, has the story. Afternoon to you, Paul. A lot of people said this was a toothless regulator. Is it any surprise?
Certainly, it's no surprise that regulation is going to be at the heart of Sir John Cunliffe's Water Commission report. The final report is going to be published on Monday. My understanding is that it will include a proposal that the government consider replacing Ofwat with a reformed regulator. It will ask the government to consider. It may be that there is a range of proposals, but effectively the challenge here is that Ofwat has been, nobody likes Ofwat. Ofwat has been asked to do a very good job, and there aren't many people who tell you it is doing it well. It will say it's sticking to its remit, but amid public anger at sewage outflows, people feeling that water companies aren't being held to effect, politicians attacking the regulator for not doing its job. Senior ministers have said it is failing. The water companies, meanwhile, don't like the fact that they feel it holds them too closely and too tightly to account, doesn't let them invest. So John Cunliffe made clear in his interim report in June that regulation will be at the heart of this. There are overlapping regulators in water. Ofwat looks after the economic regulation. The Environment Agency looks after the environmental standards, like the sewage pollution that we've been talking about today as record sewage outflow, rather, it's extreme, an increase in pollution this year. And that has led to a lack of clarity in the industry. We've seen the financial problems at companies like Thames Water. So Sir John made it clear regulation would be at the heart of this. He's said he's been looking at a range of options from refining the existing regulators or perhaps combining them. And one can see a world in which he recommends that the economic regulation of Ofwat that makes sure, bluntly, that water companies can invest without taking the public for a ride by putting bills up too high and overpaying their shareholders, as many feel has happened, while also ensuring that the system gets the investment it needs and taking on board the water responsibilities the Environment Agency already has. We'll find out exactly what he says on Monday morning. It will then be down to government to decide. I'm not convinced the decision has been made at this stage. I've spoken to one Whitehall insider who says they haven't even seen the full report. But I do know Sir John has been discussing this around Whitehall this week. It's certainly what the industry expects to happen, that Ofwat, which had a very, very difficult job, it may end up looking a little like the fall guy for the failings of an industry here.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Paul, thank you very much indeed. We can get some perspective on this now by talking to Colm Gibson, the managing director at the global consultancy BRG, former head of economic regulation at Thames Water. Always good to see you on the programme. I'm sort of inviting you to speculate a little bit because we don't know what's going to be announced until Monday. But why do you think this move is likely to happen now?
Well, I think, as Paul explained, it's likely to happen because no one is happy with the status quo, and there's quite a lot of pressure for change. And it's not the first time the regulatory framework's been revised. When Ofwat was originally set up, it was a single point regulator with one person in charge as a Director General, and that moved to more of a committee structure about 15 years ago. My experience is that the single point regulator was more effective.
So couldn't the government have just ordered a restructure of the regulator rather than a potential abolition only to replace it with something else?
Well, you need a regulator. So there's a question of whether you're simply changing the nameplate on the door or whether you're actually revising the system as a whole. There are arguments both ways, but whichever way you go, you're going to need a regulator, and the regulator is going to have a difficult job of balancing how much companies should be allowed to charge customers and ensuring that there's enough investment going in to make sure that the water industry delivers the services it needs to deliver.
Colm, do you think that this makes Ofwat really the fall guy, or appear to be the fall guy, for the pretty parlous state of the water industry?
To some extent. There are some very good, hardworking people at Ofwat, and if Ofwat is abolished and replaced with something else, then that new regulator would do well to take those on board and make sure that their skills and their knowledge is retained. It may be the case that Ofwat could have done things slightly differently. It's currently engaged in tense discussions to try and make sure that a sensible solution emerges for Thames, and I hope it manages to achieve that. But there's what's not clear is whether Ofwat and indeed the EA have sufficient jurisdiction and flexibility to be able to reach the right sort of deal for customers. Yeah,
so if you were to create whatever the new watchdog may become, what would it look like?
It would have a single person in charge who had both the power and the responsibility of taking the decisions, rather than a committee structure. It would have clearer and less conflicting obligations and duties. There are a number of more or less directly conflicting duties that Ofwat has, and that makes life difficult, ranging from keeping costs down to ensuring that there's enough investment, that they're often at loggerheads with each other. They've got obligations to meet net zero and conserve water and reduce water, and at the same time they've got new obligations to promote growth and economic growth, which inherently requires more water and more wastewater treatment. There's an opportunity, should we say, to clarify whether they want the industry to be innovative or low risk, low return. There's a tension there. So I would very much like to see all of these conflicting duties reduced and consolidated, very clear set of duties, one person in charge who has both the power and the responsibility to reach the right position for customers and the environment.
Yeah, because those two things together are key, aren't they? Because one of the key attributes of an effective regulator is that they're also signalling to everybody that they are an effective regulator.
That's exactly right. And I think the term is probably case law, but if you know which way the regulator is going to go on an issue, it reduces the risk for investors, which makes their life easier. And it reduces the time spent debating and arguing and challenging and all that sort of thing. So having a very consistent position with one person in charge, I think, is definitely the way to go.
As somebody who used to be senior at Thames Water, what are you thinking when you're seeing them in the headlines all the time?
Often my thoughts are not entirely positive. They seem to be in the headlines for the wrong reasons. There are some very good things that they do, and those aren't the ones that get in headlines because of some suboptimal decisions, should we say, that they seem to be taking.
Yeah, like what? I mean, if you were to say, you know, they stuffed up, what would you say that specifically has gone wrong?
Well, first of all, some of the good things they do, the water quality that they deliver is excellent. You may not be aware of this, but the actual purity of the water that comes out of your kitchen tap is significantly higher than, for example, pharmaceutical products you get on prescription. Another fact is that water is the cheapest thing you can buy. Even Thames's prices, you can get a metric ton of water, 1,000 litres, 1,001 litre bottle equivalent delivered for £2, and there's nothing else you can buy and get delivered for that price. But then on the other side, we've seen the EFRA committee, for example, where there's discussion about 200-300% retention payments on top of whatever bonuses they're getting. And I think that was entirely avoidable.
OK, fascinating to get your perspective. Colm Gibson, thank you very much for talking to us again on Sky News. Now, a UK-based health firm has announced a fundraise of $60 million. It's widely seen, of course, as a vote of confidence in its obesity management service. Newman, it's called. It's treated over 650,000 patients for obesity. It claims to be on track for 150% growth this year. The company uses AI and digital resources to tailor weight loss regimes, including jabs, to help people lose weight. Well, joining me now is Socrates Papafloratis, the founder and chief executive of Newman. Good to see you this afternoon, and congratulations on closing your new funding round. How are you going to be spending that next tranche of investment?
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. We've seen huge growth with Newman over the last few years. We are in a position to keep serving patients in the UK. Patients start to serve patients abroad as well. We raise this money because we want to invest in R&D. We want to expand our product offering. We want to grow the business and also the proposition to other areas of health as well. And we want to take the business international too. And that's why we raise the money.
And obesity management, I mean, it's been buzzword, hasn't it, for a couple of years now. Do you have any concerns about some of the safety risks that are being identified as people have been on these drugs for longer?
Yeah, and safety is a number one priority. It's extremely important that people, when they make choices, when it comes to choosing a provider, to ensure that they're only working with reputable, regulated providers that offer a holistic approach to their health. Newman is regulated by the Care Quality Commission, the GPHC, and the MHRA. We take extreme care in ensuring that we onboard the right patients, that we assess the right patients, and then we provide the right ongoing care and support around the medication. These drugs, as any drug, don't come without side effects, and some of those side effects can be serious. So we encourage people to keep an eye on those symptoms, to seek immediate support from us or from wherever else they're getting their support. But of course, to be mindful when they're choosing to embark this medication, because it is a serious treatment. It is not something that is to be taken on a whim. And also, it's something that should be a commitment to a healthier lifestyle as a whole. These medications are miraculous, but they're not miracles, and they're not a single bullet, single solution for an epidemic like obesity.
Yeah, and you've treated 650,000 people for obesity. What percentage of your business is that?
We've treated 650,000 people for a range of therapeutic areas. Obesity, it's not just for obesity. So we started as a men's health company in 2019. We help men with a number of issues, including sexual health, hormonal health. We help women as well. We have a fast-growing diagnostic offering as well. The goal for Newman is to be a health co-pilot for you that can bring together pharmacotherapy and behavioral change and help you become healthier, not just today, but in the future as well. There have been two big catalysts for Newman over the last couple of years, and that has been the arrival of GLP-1s at scale, combined with AI when it comes to behavioral change. And that quickly has become a very large part of our business.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us here on Business Live, Sky News. Socrates Papafloratis, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, don't go away. Still plenty to come for you on Business Live. A new report looks at how women's sport can grow its sponsorship and funding. We're going to be speaking to the authors after the break.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
We are under Israeli military restrictions in terms of some of the things that we can film, but it's important to be in there. What a slow drive for the president as he approaches his golf club. 4 more years! Free wherever you get your news. I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C. I'm Stephen Murphy and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
$1,500 movies. I don't want this flight to end. Fly better. Thank you.
Now, as you may know, England's Lionesses are through to the Euro 2025 semi-finals. That's following a close penalty shootout. Nail-biting it was, win against Sweden. However, despite the women's game attracting more fans than ever, women's sport still attracts less funding and sponsorship than men's. We can speak now to Ellie Moss, strategy partner at Hallas Play UK, who today have released a report into why women's sports are struggling financially. Ellie, good to see you this afternoon. Let's start with the good news, shall we? And that is there's a big interest in women's sport, and it's really grown, hasn't it, in recent times?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2025 is a huge year for women's sport, really exciting year. And we've carried out some proprietary research, which has shown us that 3/4 of UK adults are following at least one women's sport at the moment. And football, unsurprisingly, really comes out on top with a 20 million strong following there. So the interest is there, the excitement is there. We've got Euros on at the moment. We've got Women's Rugby World Cup to come. So there's really gathering pace around women's sport this year, which is really exciting to see.
And what is not gathering pace, Ellie, is the money that's going into it. Why not?
Well, what we would love to see is more brands investing in the women's sports space. That's not to say that there aren't brands in that space. We do have some amazing brands have been in the space for several years that have been doing so much for the sport across rugby, football, across the full mix. Potentially, it's often that brands haven't experienced the sponsorship space before or aren't familiar with the women's sports sponsorship space in particular. It does differ slightly from a traditional sponsorship environment. What's exciting is that we are seeing more
why does it
jumping
differ?
in.
Why does it differ, Ellie? I mean, sport is sport, isn't it?
In some ways, yes. In other ways, no. I would say there's different opportunities available, especially when you're thinking about brands investing in this space. So we have some huge personalities in the women's sporting environment, the kind of growth of social media, and women's sports stars growing up with social media means they're kind of complete natives in the social media digital world and have built incredible profiles in that space. We also see that there's potentially less red tape for brands to be involved. There are fewer traditional sponsorship models, there are evolving sponsorship models, there are emerging leagues, emerging teams. So there's lots of new opportunities to get involved. There's lots of emerging opportunities to kind of put your stake in the ground as a brand and be part of growing women's sport and part of the journey which we're very much on. And this is definitely not the peak this year.
A big shift, though, isn't it, is that broadcast viewing figures are falling, but people are turning to digital channels to watch their sport. That requires a different way of thinking about sponsorship and about branding.
Yeah, and I would say that lots of brands in the sponsorship space now are shifting towards more 360 sponsorship models. We see lots of brands doing really innovative, exciting stuff in this space. It's less just about a badging exercise of getting your logo out there, and it's very much about activating at all levels of sport. So working with elite sports people, working with leagues, working with teams. We see a lot of brands working in the academy space, lots of brands sponsoring F1 Academy, for example, karting academies, and scholarships. So there's a kind of huge range of ways that brands can get involved in this space and really maximize, as I say, those athletes who are sort of digital natives. So the likes of Ilona Mayer, the US rugby star, Holly Aitchison. We've got some incredible stars out there, Lucy Bronze. There's real opportunity to leverage those social media profiles and build full kind of integrated campaigns around them.
I was reading that one of the most watched female sporting events in 2025 was the women's varsity boat race. That surprised me.
Yeah, that surprised me too. I wasn't aware of that, but I imagine it's up there. The numbers are sort of growing, and people do in the modern world experience sport differently. It's not all about TV figures. That's still important, but we do have a much more kind of holistic comms environment in which kind of people engage with sport, people watching highlights, people enjoying the kind of fandom that you get across social media. So yeah, that's an exciting one, but I think we'll see a lot more of that this year with especially with Women's Rugby World Cup kicking off mid-August now. So off the back of the Euros, I think that'll be a really exciting moment and a big summer of sport.
And some of the big sponsors, are they changing their thinking around this rise in interest in women's sport and the move away from traditional sort of linear broadcast viewing to digital channels?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but we do see a shift in that perspective. And what's exciting is seeing new brands coming into the space. So we're seeing a lot of brands who haven't historically played in the sports sponsorship space stepping in. So, for example, fashion brands, beauty brands. We're seeing a huge wave of beauty brands stepping into the sports space, specifically in women's sport. The opportunity is there for them to reach a broader female audience, but also to tell different stories through female athletes. So yeah, it's definitely an evolving space, and what's exciting is that the pace of change this year is rapid. So we're seeing more and more brands coming to the table, and that means more investment for sport.
And is the follow-on from that women sports people are going to be paid more and more in line with what the men are being paid?
It would be fantastic. I can't say that it's a direct line. Lots of factors kind of play into that, but hopefully brand investment is one of those factors that can start to push that agenda. Obviously, if we want to kind of professionalise the game, see women's sport at a really high level, we do need to kind of push that agenda on, and brands can be a part of that story too.
All right, Ellie Moss, really good to talk to you on Business Live today. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, you too.
That is it from me for today. We're going to be back again with Business Live on Monday at 11:30. I think that's going to be with Darren McCaffrey. Coming up, though, next for you, it's the News Hour with my colleague Kamali Melbourne. Thanks for your time. Thanks for tuning in today, and have a lovely weekend.